Hi, my name is Ben Goldberg, and welcome back to another episode of Disney Dads and Jordan. Today, we'll be doing a deep dive on more of the D23 information, specifically on the movies and TV coming out soon. Let's go, guys. All right, guys. Well, welcome back to another episode of Disney Dads with Jordan. Like I said, we're going to kick it off today with talking about more of the films and TV shows that are coming out. I'm going to get us going with the one that I don't know if we really need right off the top of my head. I grew up with this movie. You guys grew up with this movie. Our kids are growing up with this movie now. Toy Story 5, coming out in 2026. What we do know about it is that it's going to take Woody and Buzz and our favorite characters on another journey, right? But this time, the perils that they face are technology. While I think this is a great idea, I understand it to a degree. I'm also kind of sick of Toy Story. And I think that I'm ready for it to be done. I don't know why we didn't stop at Toy Story 3. I thought that was the perfect button on the franchise. But I'm open to thoughts and opinions. What do you guys think?
I think it's fine. I think it is the Pixar version of Mickey Mouse, and they're going to make movies about their Mickey, and he's going to be generational. Woody is for every generation, and it's just going to keep on going. Hopefully, they're putting the twist to put the technology in there, which, however you feel about that, I think they're going to have a good lesson to share with that. And, I think it's going to be a decent movie.
All right, Jeremy, what do you think?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was gonna say. I mean, I didn't think about the Mickey analogy. I really like that. I agree. Woody is the king of Pixar, essentially. Woody and Buzz, and as long as there are more stories to tell, they'll keep telling stories, and as long as people are going to see them and getting excited for them, it's a good thing. We all love it. My kids love them, right? Even my daughter loves Woody and Buzz, and my son, who's like a year and a half, almost 2, he knows who they are. So, yeah, I think it's a generational thing that they did so well with it. Why not? Let's keep going,
And the other thing is Andrew Stanton's back directing, which, he's been gone from Pixar for a while. He dabbled in live action, which he didn't really succeed with. R.I.P. John Carter. But
John Carter was like years ago. I thought Andrew Stanton, ever since John Lasseter had
yeah,
his
he's
exit,
been back
right?
in animation. He's been back, but I'm pretty sure this is the first big feature. I could be wrong.
Okay, well, look, I hear both of you, and I get it. Jordan, and I agree with Jeremy. That was a good analogy. I see that as Mickey Mouse. I totally get that. I'm going to play devil's advocate, though. I watched Disney Plus with my kid, right? And they have a bunch of Toy Story, shorts, and they also have a few of their, made for TV that have gone to, the streaming service now, right? They're, 30, 40 minutes in length. I think this could have possibly been one of those. I don't know if we need to have feature-length films of Toy Story. I personally think that, a holiday special or releasing it around the holiday time, right? Like some of these other franchises do, is a great way to bring in entertainment during the holidays that's not in the box office, that's getting them onto your platform still with advertising. But we'll see how it goes. I know that I struggle with technology with my kid. I think that it's a common theme for a lot of parents. The world that we grew up in, right, was not as digital as it is today. So, Jordan, you're probably hitting it on the head there. They are going to tackle it with a good lesson there, a good balance probably, a little bit of using the old with the new. As long as there's no Furbies running around crazy, I'm going to be cool with it, right? Anyway, let's keep moving.
I was just going to say, and I am right, Andrew Stanton. I mean, he did do Finding Dory in 2016, but he's really been out on Pixar for a while, so this is pretty exciting.
Well, I'm happy that he's back then, because I know that he was one of the original guys from the Pixar crew from back in the day that really came up with
big 3 or big 4.
Yeah, the big hits. Let's keep it moving. Jeremy, you want to tell us about Freakier Friday?
No, I don't know anything about it.
Okay. I'm happy to talk about.
Let's go, Jordan. Tell me about Freakier Friday. Tell me about Lindsay Lohan.
So this is a sequel to the already remake Freaky Friday that starred Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan. This one's going to come out pretty quick. I believe it's 2025. And I think it's going to be about moms and how they deal with their children and the generational moms, because you're going to have a grandmother. Lindsay Lohan's going to be a mother in this. And I'm not sure how the switch is going to go, but I'm thinking it's going to be a 3-way switch with whoever they cast to be her daughter. And I mean, I really liked the 2000s film. It's a lot of fun. I think girls really relate to it, and I think this is just going to be a great family film. You guys have anything to say about it?
Why?
Why?
Yeah, why? Why?
Lindsay
I
Lohan was a Disney darling at one time. Maybe they're trying to rebuild
Okay,
that connection.
I think we got to unpack something on this. Here comes a Jeremy rant. So
we just Jeremy rant. This alert. Everyone's alerted. Okay.
hot take with Jeremy Tisser.
Go ahead, start though.
It's the safe route, right? It's a safe route for Disney. It's a successful IP that they haven't made a sequel for yet. They know they can go in and mine it for additional funds. They've had a few rough years at the box office. They know they need to up their game a little bit more. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's just they're not taking the risks that they maybe once did, right? Like in the 90s when they decided to reboot their animation program and they just had all the hits coming out, right? Like they're at a point where there's a big transition going on behind the scenes. They're looking for a new CEO. There's some financial things going on. There's a lot of cost cutting happening and a lot of reinvesting happening as well. So there's a whole bunch of stuff on the business end of it. And I think this kind of ties in with that. It's a very safe bet that they know if they do it well, it can be a hit. But if they drop the ball on it, it's probably not going to do so well.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be cheap to make too.
Yeah. Well, here's my question: was the first one music based? I remember in the poster they had the guitar, so it's not music based at all. There was no music element.
There might be. I'm trying to remember. There might have been a song, but I don't think like there were a few songs that were relatively popular that like in the soundtrack and stuff. But I wouldn't say it was a musical or anything like that.
Okay. Look, it'll be interesting. I'm sure that it'll be a generational thing, right? Like the kids that like it would be like parents taking their kids. I get it. We grew up with Lindsay Lohan. She's fun to watch. I've enjoyed her in many films. Jamie Lee Curtis is a national treasure. She's amazing. I love her. She has a huge range, so she's fun to watch.
She's still killing it. You know, she's doing those Halloween movies. She was in an Oscar award-winning movie last year, or was it 2 years ago? And oh my gosh,
is the A24 film? Isn't it like Everywhere, Everything, All at Once?
Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. Yeah.
Oh man, that was so good.
Actually, fun fact. So a long time ago, I was at the park with an ex-girlfriend of mine, and her best friend at the time. Her mom was a publicist, and just so happened to have Jamie Lee Curtis in the parks. And we met up with them, and I actually got to go around with the plaid, like VIP tour with Jamie on a ride or two. She's extremely nice, very, very down to earth. It was just a nice little encounter with a celebrity at Disneyland that not everyone gets to have. So let's keep it rolling. I'm excited about this next one, guys. I have to tell you, I am excited about this one.
Let Jeremy intro it. Yeah.
I'm very excited for Incredibles 3 because Incredibles is my second favorite franchise out of Pixar, right behind Monsters, Inc. You know, we've been waiting years in between each film, so to get that announcement was pretty exciting.
What excites me about this the most is that Brad Bird is directing it, and I love his stuff. I thought Iron Giant was great years ago. I think the way that he tells a story is very unique. He really goes big. He makes it fun, but he also adds that element of I want to say like not like scary, but he knows how to evoke emotion in a child's movie that's a little bit more tense at times, but it's not over the top. He's a great vision, and I'm very excited to see where the story goes. I don't know the plot details off the top of my head. I'm like trying to find them online right now. I'm not seeing a ton out there, but I do expect this to kind of pick up where the story left off. This is the world that the world of the supers, right? It's super cool. It's super. Let's see what I did there. It's a cool world that I think could be explored a little bit more. Obviously, in the second film, right, we focus more on the mother aspect of it. So in the first film, we had Mr. Incredible. The second film was more focused on Elastigirl and being a mom and wrangling everything in, right, and taking care of the family. Where do you guys think the third film goes?
Yeah, I mean, I think it might go more into the kids again, maybe a little more into whatever next step of school they're going into. You know, I'm guessing they're going to go up a grade or something like that. And I do think they kind of need to bring it back a little bit, bring back more of the fun. You know, the second one was good, but it was a little convoluted. People got lost with it. I think the villain wasn't as much of a standout. So I'm really hoping that they can kind of in a superhero film, you really need a kick butt villain, and that's what I'm excited they bring.
You know what I like about the world of the Incredibles also is that in a world, our world, right? In a world where there's so much Marvel and DC and everything, I feel like the Incredibles really stand out because they aren't like Marvel or DC. It's a very unique blend of storytelling, which I like a lot. There's a ton of characters that you have to follow. It's a very simple storyline that you can kind of pick up at any point and be like, oh, this person does this hero does this. And I think it's pretty cool. I'm super excited for it. Let's keep it going because I'm gonna be the one guy here that's kind of like whatever about this next one.
Yeah, so I'll jump in on this, which is we are getting, of course, the third Avatar film. They released the title.
Woo!
Yeah, this is really exciting. Remember, those are the 1 and 3 highest grossing films of all time. Do I think this one's going to be one of the highest grossing films of all time? I bet you it'll still hit like a top 10. I almost guarantee it. But we got the title and we got a intro graphic. It's going to be called Avatar: Fire and Ash. And I'm sure this is going to be the continuation of the Sully family story. And, I'm sure we're going to see some new places. We're going to see a lot of new creatures. And, maybe finally I don't know if this is possible, but they've hinted at this in the past that maybe they go beyond the planet of Pandora or go, maybe we're going to go inside of it, maybe go underground or something like that. There's got to be new places because now we've seen pretty much most of the surface of this planet.
Well, I have to guess by the title. It sounds like Pandora might be dying, right?
Yeah.
Like that's just based upon the title. Based upon the little knowledge I have of these movies just from you two, about how it's a very big eco statement, I could totally see this movie going in the direction of the planet's been killed. Where do we go from here, right? Very kind of parallel to us and the climate change that we're facing and the big questions that were being posed to us. The thing that excites me, if anything, is that we know that Pandora's coming to California Adventure. We know that ride's going to be incorporating stuff from the films. That excites me. I guess I'm going to have to give it a watch, take my money, go for it. But other than that, I just don't see the appeal like a lot of people do, but that's just me. And as my wife says, I'm a simple man at times that likes to watch very simple things. So maybe that's it. I don't know. I just don't get into it as much as other people.
What do you think, Jeremy?
I think I'm excited because it's an intimate story told in a grand world, right? And I think today there's a lot of grand stories being told in grand worlds, which kind of makes it hard for you to connect and it makes it hard for us to relate. So I like that it's focused on specific characters and then you get the big picture of it as well. I wanted to also just shout out to James Cameron and the team because James Horner, who was Mr. Cameron's composer for years, died in a plane crash a number of years ago. And when it came time for Way of Water, people were like submitting demos and speculating who's he going to hire, what's going to happen, because he's worked with other composers before. But he ended up going with Simon Franklin. And Simon, if you don't know, was one of James Horner's right-hand men. And he was like the synth programmer for most of James's scores. So he knew James Horner's sound very intimately and worked on the original Avatar. And he is doing the music for all the new Avatar films now. So they went with James's guy, basically, with James Horner's guy. And he is so nice. He is like, I ran into him at the NAMM show this past year. Got to congratulate him on his work. It was, my God, the stack of music that he wrote for that thing. It's a 4-hour movie or something, and he wrote like 6 hours of music for it, which is insane and unheard of. And so he's already on IMDb doing the next one as well. So I'm just glad that I'm glad that James Cameron's keeping it in the family.
Yeah, and we have to also say R.I.P. to John Landau, and I'm sure he'll be very much missed. He's been an integral part of this since the beginning. So
yes,
yeah.
Jeremy, do you think that his music will translate well to a theme park?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I almost like Way of Water better than the original, by the way, in terms of the score.
It's whoosh over my head still. I'm like so whatever about it. It's kind of how I feel about this next one also. I'll kind of tee this one up.
Oh, cool.
Snow White. live action remake coming out in 2025. I saw the preview for it. Look, I understand why Disney is remaking all these movies live action, right? It's reintroducing it to the kids of today, right? It's taking the elements of a 3D animation, incorporating it with live action. It's very it's visually stunning, right? It's in your face. It's vibrant. I'm not a big fan of all the remakes personally. To me, Snow White is a cartoon, so watching it live action and shot for shot just doesn't do it for me. But that's not to say that it's not going to be a massive hit, right? But let's also talk about the controversy that's kind of surrounded this film a little bit, right?
Which one?
There's a few. let's start with the big one, right? Rachel Ziegler cast as Snow White was a huge controversy for a lot of people. They didn't believe the choice was correct. How do you guys feel about that?
I think she looks the part, which is, fine. I think that, I know she has some political stuff that's gone on with her and some other newsworthy topics. And I think hopefully people will move past all that. The villain as well, Gail Gadot has had Gal Gadot.
Gail Gadot. Gail
Gadot. Yeah, see, I'm going to get it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure people will take the film as its own thing at that time. And I think the other controversy we really need to talk about is, they changed the dwarfs halfway through this film because the backlash people were giving about multicultural dwarfs and not staying true to a story and having dwarf-like people. So this film has already gone through a lot of retakes, and hopefully that doesn't hurt the final product.
Well, let's talk about that, right? Disney has been under the fire for changing and becoming quote-unquote woke, right? So, first of all, I hate that term woke, personally. I don't think it's woke to incorporate the world that we live in being represented in film, TV, theater, whatever it may be, right? That's the world we live in. I think that people that have that backlash, sure, it's different than what we were used to, but that even goes back to like what's happening in the theme park, right? With Splash Mountain. People are so upset about that ride for various reasons, but the main one was that it was changing from Splash Mountain to be about Tiana, and that turned into a huge thing, right? And then we have, as we talked about on our last episode, what we were upset about more is that the music was changing and this and that, and we were more upset about the story. But there are, I don't know if Disney's necessarily woke. I think that they're trying to incorporate a market where they can get as many people in seats as possible, and by showing representation, they believe they can do that. That's just my 2 cents there.
So Elio is definitely the next big Pixar original IP. This is following in the vein of oh my gosh, I was just about to say it and I forgot.
Is it Luca you were thinking of?
Yeah, I was thinking about Luca, and wasn't Encanto was Pixar, right?
No.
Oh god.
Are you thinking of Turning Red?
Yeah, I mean all of those. They're original IPs that are about, a character that's growing up and learning about life and stuff like that. The first trailer for this was pretty cool. The boy going to space and being thrown into this situation where aliens think he's the leader of the planet and trying to work with him. And instantly it's a great film about responsibility and understanding of the world and dealing with other people. I'm not really sure what it's going to be about, but definitely about the growing pains from a young boy to an adult.
Well, I'm excited.
It should be a fun film.
I'm looking at the cast right now, and I'm kind of excited, actually. I like Zoe Saldana, Jamil, Brad Garrett. I don't know who Jonas Cabrat is.
I believe he's a first-timer for
time?
this. They always bring a new young actor.
Well, the three of these other actors I'm a fan of, right? We know Zoe from the Guardians of the Galaxy franchise. Jamil is from, what's that show? The Good Place, if we've watched that. She's also done a few things with the Impractical Jokers. And Brad Garrett's just a comedy legend. So I'm actually kind of excited about this cast. This is going to be a good voiceover cast, in my opinion.
And it's the director of Coco.
Oh, well, then we already know it's going to be an emotional roller coaster, that they're going to tug at our heartstrings. But that's what Pixar does great. And that's where I think that it's where they excel at. I mean, that's just every film they touch, there's always that like one moment where you shed a tear, right? You just do, or it really gets you. Whether that's like the first scene in Up, or not the first scene, but like that first like little montage in Up,
Yeah.
or the last scene in Toy Story 3, pretty much, right? They get you somewhere, and I'm excited that we're going to see that here.
Yep. I think the only thing additional I want to say is that I always get very excited for the next Pixar film before I see a trailer, because I'm hoping it's going to be like something like a Wall-E, which really does lend itself to an older age. It's not really built for the kids. It's a calmer film. It's something that has a little more of a deeper perspective. I do think Pixar sometimes now is leaning a little bit more towards kids and making sure to get the family in there and not trying to get the bigger demo. Maybe eventually they'll get back to that with this, but if not, it's fine.
All right. Let's keep it rolling to our next film, which is called Hoppers. This I know very little about, other than it stars John Hamm and Bobby. I'm going to butcher his last name, but I love him. Bobby Moynihan. Yeah. See, I was going to butcher it. I love both those people. I know this is coming out in 2026. I know it's going to be a sci-fi-esque type of story. Other than that, I have no idea what it's about, really. Jordan, can you fill us in?
Yeah, so it's about a scientist who wants to learn more about the natural world. So they swap their brain with a beaver. Not a real beaver, a robotic beaver. Like, it's kind of like, I wouldn't say they swap it, because I wouldn't say the robot brain, but they implant their brain basically into the robot beaver.
I feel like we've seen the story before, like, in Terminator and some other movies where the robots kind of rise up and take over. It sounds kind of...
Well, that's going to be my first take on this, is that this doesn't really feel like a Disney Pixar film. This feels like something coming from DreamWorks, something coming from Illuminations. This is very much slapstick animal humor that I think we're going to get, which, Disney did do well with Zootopia. They did really change this kind of film where animals interacting with each other. But this could surprise me, or it could go the other way and just be a really dumb, silly animal spoof, make fun of the traditions of certain animal groups. So we'll see. This one's probably the farthest one out. I believe this one's like, what, 2027 or late 26?
It says 2026. I was just looking up The Wild Robot, which is DreamWorks' next film, because we were talking about animals and robots. In my head, I'm like, wait, I know that usually the studios go head-to-head on some of these things, right? They'll make their version, they'll make that version. And I was like, when did that movie come out? And Wild Robot's slated to come out in September of 2024, which is literally right around the corner from now. So this might be their response to that movie, maybe. I'm not sure. But it could be their take on a robot in the wilderness, blah, 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 blah. But I expect it to be slapstick also, just based on the cast alone, that those characters or those actors are good at conveying comedy pretty well. Jeremy, is there anything that you're looking for, because you're the music guy, right? Is there anything that you're looking for in any of the films that we've talked about, other than Avatar, that you're kind of excited about music-wise with any of these?
Incredibles is the one that I'm most excited about. We know Michael Giacchino's done the first two. But what a lot of people may not know is Gordon Goodwin is the secret sauce on that one. He actually, I know he was at a minimum nominated. I think he won the Grammy for his arrangement of the end credits, the ending track of The Incredibles during the end credits. That's Gordon Goodwin took the themes, arranged the whole thing, and won a Grammy for it. He's incredible. Absolutely incredible. Anything that guy touches in terms of jazz and swing is awesome. It was the best call Michael has ever made, was bringing him into that one. So I hope that Michael's doing the third one and that Gordon is involved with it as well. So that's the one I'm most excited for. The one I'm skeptical the most on is going to be Snow White. I see the crew that they have for that. It's produced by Mark Platt, and they have Pasek and Paul, who are brilliant songwriters. They're very much in line with the Richard Sherman line of songwriting and theatrics. I think they did Greatest Showman.
They did do Greatest Showman. Let's jump in with Pasek and Paul, because my theater background, I know that name very well, obviously. So Pasek and Paul also did Dear Evan Hansen on Broadway. They're great. I didn't know that they were involved in Snow White. So now that sounds to me now more like it's going to be a big book musical almost, kind of harkening it back to. I'm anticipating new songs then also, so I'm thinking on top of my head. But I hope it's updated because I don't know about y'all, but Snow White came out in what 1930.
39.
So I'll trust Jordan here. Whatever he says, I'm going to go with because
It's 37 or 39.
Yeah, but that the audience is definitely different today. Back then, the operatic style of singing was very popular. It's what was entertaining. Today, not so much. I'm not saying it's not
37.
enjoyable, but like one wish to open up that film, right? That the Prince proclaiming his song and Snow. I'm curious to see how they update it for the audiences of today.
My argument to that is that orchestral music was not in with feature films during the 70s until John Williams knocked it out with Star Wars. That film single-handedly revived big orchestral film scores, right? So you have this opportunity to, if you're going to harken back to the olden days, create a big, beautiful opening to the film. Remember how they used to have the credits at the beginning of the film with that big operatic sweeping, suite of themes. I think you have a great opportunity to do that up a bit. I'm concerned that it's going to be too joyful, happy, Greatest Showman. That's a lot of their style of writing, which is fine. But Snow White itself is a pretty dark story. And if they're going to go and do Snow White, I really want them to go that direction with it, right? Lean into Snow White, to the darkness, and really,
you want them to go their grim fairy tale route. What you're saying? You want them to go to source material and be dark.
I love horror movies and Nightmare Before Christmas type movies, and I know that that's not what this one is. But I just, if they're gonna write a new song and try and go for an Oscars push on it, I would love it to be something new, right? Something that either we haven't heard or that we might not expect from them, would be really great. Because right now I see the name and I'm expecting one thing. As a composer, I know that they can do more because we all can. We can do more than the things we're typecast in. Theater doesn't have to be the cheesy, poppy theater music that you think of. It can go in all sorts of different directions, right?
Right, like Sweeney Todd, for example, right? When you're talking about a horror-themed, darker thing, right? Sweeney Todd, for people who don't know, great Stephen Sondheim piece, very dark, very not big bubblegum at all. A lot of tense moments and scary. I would love them to take a cool approach to that. I agree with you, Jeremy. I don't want it to be bubblegum in my face, too sweet for my tooth. I don't want that. I want something a little bit more modern, but not too. But again, we might not be the demo for this, and that's what I keep thinking in my head too. They might.
We kind of are, right? Snow White, it goes back to our grandparents, our great grandparents. So we kind of are. Everyone should be the demo for it. And I was watching with my kids one of the I think we were watching Mammoth Club, one of the vlogging influencers on YouTube, and they were talking about songs in the movies, and the hero songs are always great, but the villain songs are always the bangers, right? They're always the ones that are like you get the coolest songs with Jafar and with just some of those characters. So I'm just hoping they lean into that idea.
I don't think anyone would ever go Aladdin.
Yeah, wait, what song are you talking about for Jafar?
In the second one.
Yeah, I used to be obsessed with that movie.
You said Aladdin. I'm like, Jafar doesn't have a song in Aladdin, but the second, you guys are starting to pull was that the King of Thieves? Is that the one, or is that?
We are elder millennials, friend. Okay.
What song?
Number 2 is the Return of Jafar.
You know what song you should have said, because I'm going to segue right into the next film with this. You should have said Scar. You should have said Scar, because Be Prepared was one of, if not the best Disney villain. Actually, I'll take this. Be Prepared is right up there with Gaston for me. I think that both of those songs are fun in different ways. Gaston is fun because it's a big book musical style number where he's just the most arrogant SOB in the world and you love him for it. And Be Prepared is fun because it's just a dark, fun song that you're kind of like, all right.
And Jeremy Irons' voice is amazing.
It is. All right, so segue into our next film, Mufasa, the Lion King. Admittedly, I just saw a trailer for this. I had no idea about it, like the story, other than the controversy with the music, which I'll get into afterwards. But uh,
Hmm.
I'm kind of intrigued with this. Actually, it's an interesting take because I'm not sure. It's an original story at this point because the story
Yes.
of the Lion King is based off of Hamlet. This is not that story, right? It's the story pre Lion King. So we're looking at how the two brothers became brothers, and from the trailer, it's kind of given that Mufasa is more or less an orphan taken in by Scar's herd, right? That's
Yep.
crazy. What a like to me, that's the ultimate plot twist right there. So not only was Scar supposed to be the king from what it appears, now it gives that character so much more depth and maybe misunderstanding from the original viewpoint. So I'm kind of intrigued by that. The trailer does look fun. Again, one of those live action with the CGI, not a remake, but like films like that. I think they're pretty sometimes. Dinosaur is one of the first ones that did that, I believe, for me when I saw that. I thought it was super cool. I think this is going to be fun. I am very curious to see how they get where they get. How did Mufasa become the king? How did Scar not become the heir to the rightful throne? Curious about that. What do you guys' take before I get into the music?
Yeah, so I think that this could be good, just like you. Um, I was lucky enough to go to the Hollywood Bowl live concert for Lion King earlier this year, where we got to hear a little bit of the score for this. We got to hear a few of the song. There's definitely one new song for this film, and it sounds great. Um, I will say though that I'm not a big fan of the live action version of this, only because obviously fan of the classic, but there's a whole problem with getting the animals to like emote emotion. They really stick true to the animal features, and I don't know if you really can see sadness, fear, and all these things from all these different animal characters. And it really relies on the voice actor quite a bit. So, I mean, we have really good voice talent, I think, in this. And I can be excited. I am going to see it, but I'm going to keep my expectations low. And there's also one other thing. We found out Scar's real name, and I think, isn't it like, I want to say Tobias or something? I'm going to have to look it up, but it's kind of weird. Never really saw Scar as that.
I'm looking over the voice talent right now. We have Aaron Pierre's Mufasa. We have Seth Rogen and Billy Eichner returning as Pumbaa and Timon. Kevin Harrison Jr. as Taka. Or I think it's Taka.
Oh, Taka is... Oh, okay, so that's the name. Taka is Scar.
Okay. Isn't Taka also the character from Moana? Am I crazy?
You might
Like
be right.
the fire demon? I'm pretty sure it is.
That's Tekka with an apostrophe. This is Taka,
Yeah.
Taka.
I feel like it's...
So we might have a wrong pronunciation as well in the line.
We might be saying this completely wrong. John Canny as Rafiki, Mads Mikkelsen as Kiro. So he looks. If I am assuming Mads Mikkelsen's in this, it's going to be a villain character. That's what he excels
Mads
at.
Mikkelsen.
Okay, I'm saying it wrong, whatever. But he's a great villain. Every time I see him and he plays a villain, I love it. I think he's amazing.
Oh, he's a star.
We got Donald Glover coming in as Simba. I mean, so this has some of the original cast from The Lion King.
There's none of Mufasa's wife. There's no Sarabi. That was my gripe in the trailer. Where's Sarabi? We're supposed to make her strong, but we don't even show her.
No. Okay, so let's go over the controversy that this film had with the music. Elton John was not asked to do the music like he did in the 1990, was it came out in 94, I think. Is it 94, 95, whatever. The original animated movie. And there was some controversy there. Some remarks were made by Elton that he was very disappointed with Disney and their decision. But the new lyricist and composer is Lin-Manuel Miranda, who has done a few Disney films, right? He did Moana. He did Mary Poppins Returns. I feel like I'm missing one somewhere, right? Like he is. What else has he done for Disney?
You said Mary Poppins Returns. You said Moana. Man, now you got me blanking on it.
He did Encanto. Okay,
That's
I know that.
Yeah.
So he is, in my opinion, like pretty Disney-esque, right? I can see why they went with him. I don't mind Lin-Manuel. I don't think he's a one-note kind of guy. His stuff does change from time to time, which I appreciate. It's like we're talking about Benji and Pasek, right? When you said Benji and Pasek, you're going to get that Big Book musical. With Lin-Manuel, I don't know what I'm going to get because he's good. He gets all over the place. So I'm kind of excited to see what he does here.
Lin is... Yeah, I will say he is. He knows how to put a great team together. He knows how to put great lyrics on the page. He knows how to write a hell of a melody. Um, so yeah, I think he is a great choice. I could see why um, Sir Elton John would be upset. I don't know that they need to go back to him on this one, though. It would be great to have a return of some kind for him. But also, if you wanted to keep it in the style of The Lion King, is Lin Manuel Miranda the right choice? Um, I'm gonna say yes because we have to trust that their decision making skills are great at Disney, and they hired him for a reason, which means his demo, whatever he produced as a demo for to show the producers, they must have loved it. Um, so yeah, it's gonna be exciting to see what he comes up with. They could have also gone with another modern pop or rock artist who has maybe not a similar background as Elton John, but can bring that fresh style to the film instead of going a safe route, which going back to before, right? Disney's taking a lot of safe paths.
Yeah.
Another interesting thing, I don't know if it's a controversy, but I did not know that Nicholas Britell is writing the score. It's not Hans Zimmer, and that's fine. Nicholas is brilliant. He did If Beale Street Could Talk. He did Andor. He did Succession. Man, he's done a ton of. He did Vice. He did The King. Oh yeah, The King is amazing. He is going to be a fantastic choice for this. So that actually made me more.
That Succession music is amazing. So
yeah,
Let's keep it rolling, guys. The next
I'll
one.
do it. Okay, yeah, I'm happy to enlist. All right, so this one is something that I think a lot of fans have been excited for, been hoping for years, and that is a Lilo and Stitch live action film that's going to be a remake of the first one in the vein of all these other Disney live action films. Recently, I would say in the last few years, Stitch has had a huge resurgence as a character that people go crazy for. You know, Stitch merch has been all over the place, and people just really connect with Stitch on the wild side as well as his, I guess, he's a heartwarming character. He really feels for the family. Ohana is something that's become more and more important to people. And I think people are going to be really excited for this film. Not sure about how great it's going to be, but I think people really connect with the animated film, so it's going to be tough to live up to it. But you never know. This character can do anything.
What I like about this is that when we saw the teaser at D23, it didn't look like Sonic the Hedgehog. If you remember when Sonic was announced, there was a huge controversy with that. It looked horrible, right? So if anytime you do a remake of something or you're bringing a character into the like a three-dimensional world or live action, there is that like scare of like, okay, so we've seen this character in a different medium before. We want that to translate to the film. Is it going to translate? I was pretty impressed actually with that CGI they did. I thought it looked really good. I'm excited about this too. Here's my qualm with it, I think, and I'm hoping this is where it's going to come down to the art director and the director of photography and the director's vision. What made Lilo and Stitch so amazing as an animated film was the watercolor backgrounds that they used and the animation style. They really went. They were true to Hawaii, right? They wanted to make that movie feel tropical. They wanted to feel very natural, like the story was just part of the culture of Hawaii. They made it very pretty. I'm curious how that's going to be accomplished the live action way. But I'm excited. I think Jordan, you said something about this character being lovable, right?
Yeah.
Stitch is an infant. That's the best way of saying it. I think that's what makes him lovable. It's infants. They're great. They're horrible. They get into things. They do things to push your buttons. But at the end of the day, most of all, they want to do right. And Stitch's theme the entire time is he always wants to do right. He doesn't want to do wrong necessarily. And as he learns and he grows, then he starts understanding the community around him. I'm excited about this one. I think it's
I also want to say, so you were bringing up the art of this, and it is one of the most unique art formats for Disney. That's because of the writer, and he was, I believe, a director on this, Chris Sanders. He's really incredible. He did the Croods. He has a very unique look for characters as well as the rest of his sets, and he is still a writer, probably a producer on this. So
and he's the voice of Stitch again, so I'm excited for that too. So
so we should definitely expect big things from him.
I'm stoked for. I gotta say, I'm usually not excited for the live action remakes, and part of it is just we grew up on the '90s originals of Beauty and the Beast, Little Mermaid. We just grew up on them, so for us, it's our childhood. But this one looks really good, and Stitch, if he gets into the mayhem and causes the havoc that I hope he does, I think it's going to be a really fun ride. The director is Dean Fleischer Camp, who did Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. I remember when that short came out and it was really funny, but I'm not too familiar with Dean's other work, so we'll see.
That full film was a hard watch for me. So
it was a hard watch. I couldn't get past 10 minutes, man. So
I didn't see it.
Yeah,
I just saw the original short, went back way back in the day. So
it should have stayed a short. Quote me on that. The world can hear me.
Oh my
all
God.
right.
Please let me intro this next one. This is all I care about in my life.
So you heard it here first, and to Melissa, his wife, he does not care about you as much as he cares about this next film. Let's just make that very clear for the world to know. Let's go.
Oh man. All right, please don't mess this movie up. It means so much to me. Tron Ares. This is the third film in the Tron trilogy, and we didn't think we were going to get this film. It's been, what was it, 2009 since the last film.
Yeah.
So we've waited another 15 years for the next one of this. And it's going to star Jared Leto, which, that is the biggest hit or miss actor I think there is today. Most of his stuff these days is misses. We brought on the director. I don't know how to say his name.
Joaquin. I think it's Joaquin.
Is it Joaquin Rowe? Yeah. And this guy did do the Pirates of the Caribbean last film, Strange Tides, as well as Maleficent 2.
They made a second one?
He did Dead Men Tell No Tales.
Yeah, okay, good.
Yeah.
Like that matters.
Okay, so I'm reading the synopsis of this one, and I'm intrigued, okay? So I'm reading it.
Sure.
I'm going to read it out loud. A highly sophisticated program, Ares, is sent from the digital world into the real world, Ares, on a dangerous mission. So at this time, it sounds like instead of us going into the game's coming to us. That's okay. Let's see what they do here.
Yeah, they set that up in the last film, in Legacy. They said, look, we had what's her name's character, Olivia Wilde's character, the ISO, escape to the real world, and Flynn as well was out there. Not Jeff Bridges' character, but his son. And I'm sure there's something that will be brought up about that. Neither of those actors at this time are returning, so we'll see. But Jeff Bridges is coming back, and I'm sure the actual character, the star of these series, Tron, should make an appearance and maybe have a bigger role in this film. So it's really exciting, and I think we should just let Jeremy go off on who the music.
Actually, I'm excited about this music too.
I'm excited for it. Yeah, they didn't announce Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. They announced 9 Inch Nails.
Yep.
So that's like.
Well, let's talk about that, right, Jeremy? But let's talk about that. In Tron Legacy, we had Daft Punk do the entire album. This seems like such a juxtaposition of EDM to 9 Inch Nails. Like, what are we going to do here? What's your take on that?
I think keeping on trend right now with my thoughts of movies, I think we're going to get that darker sound. I think it's going to be a lot grittier. Jared Leto as a villain has been, I heard you say that the movies haven't been great. I think he's been great. I've been enjoying him.
Like I said, he's hit or miss. I actually think he's a great Joker, to be honest.
Really, I thought Joker was such a weird role for him. I didn't like that take on it.
That's the one I didn't.
But to each their own there,
Yeah, but he's got
not
that.
A good Morbius.
He knows how to get that menacing face, that sense of evil calm. He knows how to do that really well, and I think we saw a little bit of that in the trailer. So I think 9 Inch Nails just going at it with that darkness on it. I think it sounds like Disney is taking a bit of a risk on this one and letting the director go where he wants to go with it, which is really exciting.
I mean, these films are a deep burn for people. These are films that have always made more money after the release, with the DVDs, with the streaming versions of it. So I think they can take a risk with Tron because the park rides. I'm pretty sure when they
Yeah.
brought in the Tron roller coaster, that increased the amount of people coming to the parks. So I mean, Tron's the entity to do that. Take
Yeah.
risks.
You know what? Just gonna throw this out there. Depending how well this does, I would not be surprised when Tomorrowland is eventually revamped that we won't get our own version of the Tron coaster over here. I'm not saying it's going to replace Space Mountain. That's no hot take there. I don't think that's going to happen.
No.
But I do think that this could go, let's say, where Autopia is, which is a dying attraction, in my opinion, or even near Nemo, which again, liquids. I don't know, whatever.
We'll have a
Hey,
rumors
hey,
episode
hey,
where we dive into this.
Yeah.
Wait, Ben, let's put a pin in that.
Right there. Okay, moving.
No.
Wait. Here's a question for you, Jordan. In terms of Tron, like you just said that these films generally do better after release than when they come to DVD and streaming. What about the international box market or box office? Do you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to look bright. Like, I'm pretty sure Tron Legacy actually, I think it had like a 50-50 split with the States, which is kind of unusual for some films. It definitely is more like an Avatar where it's universally more accepted. And now that the first ride did come out in, where was it? Was it in Tokyo?
Yeah, it was in Tokyo first, and then it came to Florida. It was
Yeah,
overseas first, and then came to Florida.
Yeah, I think Asia is really going to accept this film. They brought in that one actress from, oh my gosh, it was my favorite movie last year, and I'm now forgetting it. We're just going to have to replace it and put the title above my head of what movie it is. But she's going to bring in a lot of people. She's a great actress.
I'll say this. When Legacy came out, what I also liked is that DCA at the time did electronica, and I thought that was cool. I thought the tie-in with the franchise was fun. They had Flynn's Arcade that you could actually go to as well. In fact, Jordan, I think all of us went there together at one point. I'm just thinking about it. Do we think that maybe, depending on what construction looks like, they'll bring back some type of Tron tie-in to DCA, maybe revamp electronica?
Oh, yeah, that would be really cool. I don't know. Is the park still really doing the rave stuff though anymore? That's kind of been done for a while.
Well, I mean, they've cut budgets on a handful of things, but in my mind, if they want to have some synergy going on and create entertainment while things are under construction, it's a great way to keep people around later in the day in the park to keep revenue streams going, right? Because you're going to fuel with alcohol sales. And then you're also going to keep people for World of Color for the later showing potentially.
Sure.
But this could also go to Disneyland for all I know. They could have a theme night. Anyway, let's keep it rolling. The next movie we're going to talk about is Zootopia 2, coming out in 2025. I personally loved the first one. I didn't think the story was anything crazy. I didn't think it was like revolutionary or groundbreaking, but it was a fun film. Jason Bateman is hysterical, right? I think that his comedic style is fun. In fact, I feel like he's the ultimate dad joke at times with his delivery. And I think that we don't know anything about the plot for this movie, but we do know that it is an extremely popular franchise. It's been introduced into the parks overseas. That's starting to trickle over, I believe, our way as well, more and more. So I'm excited for this. Any other thoughts on this one, guys?
Yeah, it's written by Jared Bush, who wrote the first one. He also he wrote Moana. He wrote Encanto. So I think it's gonna be a good story. I think we're gonna have a really great ride. I think if we're going to talk about the score and ones I'm not as excited for, I didn't love the first one. I loved Michael's use of percussion. I loved the unique grooves that he was making, but I felt like the orchestral elements didn't quite live up to Up. They didn't live up to Ratatouille, some of his better ones, which is fine. I don't know the circumstances. I don't know the timelines and the schedules and the amount of redos or not that were involved in that, which there's a whole mess of that plays into the final product, right? And as long as the director is happy, that's kind of all that matters at that point. But I'm curious what they're going to do, because his son, I believe it was Michael's son, Mick, did the scores to those Zootopia shorts on Disney Plus. So I'm curious if it's going to be a father-son tag team.
That'd be cool. It'd be interesting to see that, and kind of like a fun story there. Yeah, I think it's going to be a fun film. I don't think it's going to be.
Yeah, they're going to explore new parts of the city. They're going to do more of the swamplands and the water. That's the clips they got at D23. So, I think it's more fish out of water stuff. Not understanding cultures. It's going to be a good film.
I hope we get some good comedy in there. I thought the sloth character was hysterical, and I'm hoping we get, what's his name, Speed or something? Dash, yeah, it was great.
Dash.
Not Dash. No, what is his
No,
name?
Dash is from Incredibles.
Yeah, Incredibles.
I thought it was like
something else that's like a Speedy name.
I thought it was a Speed or something. Whatever, it doesn't matter. We'll pin it above us at some point.
Yep.
All right, moving on, because this next one, where no one's surprised
Flash.
here. They've already... It's Flash.
It was Flash.
It's Flash. Okay.
You were close.
Moving on. Frozen 3.
yeah.
Frozen 3. And Frozen 4 was announced. And Frozen 5. I mean, there's so many of these coming out.
Disney just will not let it go.
No, you had to go there. Look at that ultimate...
We are the Disney dads, and we have not had a dad joke
Woo!
Okay, so this is coming out in 2027. Original cast is all returning. We know that they've already announced 4 and I believe 5, I thought. Look, man, the second one to me was so whatever. I did not get it. I thought I'm just confused. So, like, Elsa at the end of the second one is now an element, right, of some sort. She's
she's the fifth element.
Okay, it's another good film I saw. It doesn't matter. I'm just confused here. Like, what's the story going to be? Because, like, we're talking about Avatar saving the planet and this and that. If Elsa's going to now be, like, the ice queen for real and control snow and ice and da-da-da, are we going somewhere environmental with this? How many more stories can we possibly do here? Like, I don't, other than milking that cash cow as much as they can,
I mean, I still think the parents are coming back at some point. Sorry, a ship lost at sea. People love the idea that it could be somehow related to Tarzan. I don't think that's going to happen, but I bet you there's going to be more with the parents' story. It's something they haven't really.
Yeah, but the parents were involved in the second one. It was all about the history of Arendelle and about what happened, how his mom and dad, or how their mom and dad met.
Yeah, but they haven't come back yet.
I don't think they're coming back.
They're coming back.
Dude, that's like would break Disney canon. Oh yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So like they would break Disney canon if they brought the parents back. It is Disney rule that one parent is dead. Doesn't matter who it is, but it's always a parent dead. So for them to bring the parents back somehow after a long time at sea, what are they going to come up with? Like the Little Mermaid? They're going to pop out of the sea and they're going to be like, "We've been alive this," or maybe they tie into Atlantis somehow. Oh, we were in Atlantis this entire time, and now we have the Atlantis movie. Like, no, man, like. The parents aren't coming back. If anything, I will put money that it's going to have Kristoff and Anna having kids. It's going to be something with them starting a family.
Wow, already? Yes. You think they'd save that for? Oh, but maybe that's what 4 and 5 are about, the kids.
So,
okay.
Look, this could go in the deep freezer for all I care. I thought it was fun originally. Then it's a little long in the tooth now for me. Great cast, nothing against them, but it's again going back to that Toy Story thing of like why, and
you know what though, people love Toy Story 3, so let's have hope that
Toy Story 3.
But again, that's where Toy Story should have ended. It should not have continued to 4 and 5. But again, like you pointed out, Jordan, like that's the Mickey Mouse of Pixar. I get it. It's a great analogy.
And let me also remind you that when they announced Toy Story 3, we were all like, come on. Right? And then it came out and we were all in the theaters like bawling our freaking eyes out. So you never know. And on top of that, you have every little girl growing up who is obsessed with Frozen is just going to be beyond excited for this. And as a girl dad, like I know I'm going to end up getting dragged to the theaters for it and she's going to love it no matter what. So, this one, I will say the three of us are probably not the direct demographics for as mid to late 30-year-old males, but it's going to be a hit no matter what they do.
Yeah, we'll
agree.
Well, whatever. You're probably right. We forgot one that I'm going to bring up really quickly. This is coming out in November. Moana 2, which I am very excited for, is coming out this November. Again, starring The Rock. The original voice cast is all coming back. As long as The Rock doesn't say "we're welcome" or "you're welcome," I'm good. I'm sure that he's going to say it a million times. He's
got a new song. They already teased it. I forget what the words are.
I'm sure that's going to be another song where he kind of talks and sings at the same time. That'll be my guess. Yep. But look, Moana was great. I thought that was a fun movie. I'm sure this will be good too. I thought the preview for it looked interesting. I'm curious to see them actually explore the world of the ocean a little bit more and span out. I think that'd be fun. And I'm sure that, my son loves it. Jeremy, I'm sure your kids love it. I feel like we're going to be seeing this in theaters no matter what. It's coming out around Thanksgiving. So, in fact, I think that it's coming out right next to Wicked, which is, and I think Wicked moved their release date.
It's Thanksgiving.
Yeah, Wicked moved their release date because they didn't want to go up with this movie. So we'll see what happens. So I'm moving it back into some theme park news, which I'm kind of excited about. We're going to talk about a little bit about the international parks. So Lion King is coming. Lion King Land. I think it's just an attraction. I don't know if it's a land or not, but it's coming to Disneyland Paris.
I think it's a land. Very exciting.
Yes.
I know that it's going to be a log flume based or a flume based ride. It almost looks like Splash Mountain a little bit with like the rendering. Oh, yeah. So I'm going to say that. But I've thought this for a while, that the movies that we grew up with. So like just for reference, all of us here we were born. Jeremy, you're 87, I think.
87, yeah.
Yeah, Jordan and I are both 88. So we grew up with these animated movies, and I've wondered for some time, when are we going to start seeing those movies we grew up with come into the parks? Because we are now the ones with the money. We're the ones spending money on the tickets. They have kids. So if I have to travel to Paris to go on this ride, I will. I know that it's going to be based off the live action movies and not the animated movies, which is fine. I can deal with it. I'm just curious.
I actually heard mixed signals about that. I heard they spoke to one of the Imagineers on this, and they're like, yeah, we used the things for the pictures, the new one, but that there's going to be a lot of the animated in it. So I'm very confused, to be honest.
Yeah, that sounds weird. I feel like you have to commit to one of them. And if I put my money on it, it's going to be the live action, just because it's the newest iteration of it. I feel like that it has to be. I'd be pleasantly surprised.
We're critical because we care. I'm very critical of this decision to put the live action. And if you don't put the animated, it's going to be a critical mistake.
Let's just hope it's not screen based is what I'm hoping for. I don't want a screen based.
I don't mind screen based. You know, we were at Universal on Friday night, and I don't really mind the screen based things like Transformers if it's done well. But that's the key, is if it's done well.
Well, that's what we're talking about. You know, Transformers specifically integrates actual sets with the screens, and it plays into it, right?
Yes.
But so I agree with that 100%. I'm trying to think of a Disney ride that's fallen flat, and I keep thinking about Tiana in my head. Yeah, and we haven't been on it yet here, but the videos we've seen, right? There's the part where we've talked about last time. They go down,
and there's the big. Yeah, that part just looks so bad.
Yeah, the CG of these characters looks horrible. I don't know why they didn't commit them back to hand-drawn characters at that point, because that's what everyone would have been familiar with. It's whatever. Maybe they couldn't get it doesn't matter. If it's done right, Jeremy, I'll give you that. I just think that, I look at like the Frozen rides internationally that aren't screen-based, that have awesome animatronics that are water-based rides. To me, that like the one in what's the one that just opened up, Jordan?
What are we talking about?
In Tokyo, I think Tokyo just opened up a Frozen ride.
Yeah, they're Arendelle,
yeah, and I think that to me, if Lion King can do what that did and use those types of animatronics with a little bit of screen here and there, you're gonna have a home run attraction. Like it's
the Tokyo Frozen.
Tokyo.
The Tokyo Frozen is the best of all the Frozen attractions. They've done, I think, 3 of these now. One in
Florida,
not Hong Kong, one in Shanghai,
right.
and Florida, and this one. And this one, by far, the Tokyo one is the best. Everyone talks about the animatronics, but really just the scenes in general, the scene where they all freeze. It's incredible.
All right. So, guys, that was our second episode. We're still chugging along, right? Like we're having a good time. Like Jordan said, look, we're critical because we care on some of these things. We're not trying to be overly one way or the other, but we are fans at the end of the day. And as a fan, you have, some expectations or some things you want to see. You heard what we're excited for. We'd love to see what you're excited for. I think on our future episode, Jeremy is going to lead us a little bit, and I'm going to let him give us a preview.
Yeah, so next week on Disney Dads, we will be talking about the announcements for the cruise ships, which have kept coming out since D23. I get asked all the time by friends for tips, for things to know about the ships. It's a very unique experience, and it's something that I've been wanting to talk about for a while. And I'm really excited about all the new updates. So stay tuned. We'll talk about it next week.
Yeah, so going to go off of that with Jeremy a little bit. We haven't touched too much on vacation tips and tricks with kids and stuff like that, but on the next episode, Jeremy has been on one of these cruises, and he's going to kind of talk a little bit more about what it's like to be a dad on that cruise, things to do with the kids on top of the enhancements. So just kind of fun knowledge to know. But we appreciate you tuning in. As always, like and subscribe, please. Join us in the Facebook group, Disneyland Rumors and News. And until next time, we'll see you around.